Final assessment. TOGAP. What is TOGAP? The Open Group Architecture Framework, or TOGAP, certification has great value for IT professionals. It's an enterprise architecture system. TOGAP requirements state what an effective IT management process should achieve. The Open Group oversees the standard. The system is high-level framework for enterprise software development. It helps firms organize the development process using the systematic approach. The system also aligns IT departments with desired high-quality outcomes. Mostly importantly, Most importantly, it helps companies stay on budget. The demand of TOGAP. First, the demand for TOGAP certification. TOGAP certified IT workers enjoy high demand for their expertise. There, there's a good explanation for the spike in demand for their skill. IT and executive leaders recognize the long-term value of individuals with an enterprise architecture certification. It has become more important for all aspects of the business. Now, firms recognize the importance of planning and implementing enterprise architecture. Furthermore, they need experts who can manage their needs now and in the future. A cost-effective investment. A college degree in information technology is quite expensive. Conversely, TOGAP certification is remarkable, affordable, and convenient. For instance, we offer leading enterprise architecture courses online. We also offer them an affordable price. By taking our enterprise architecture courses, you receive considerable rewards for a relatively small investment. What you get with TOGAP courses. If you want to earn a better salary, TOGAP courses are the great choice. Again, there's considerable demand for certification in this field. It's an excellent way to prove your commitment to continuous learning. Furthermore, certification highlights your ability. It shows you it shows you have the knowledge to thrive in your role as an IT professional. Resultantly, you could receive higher pay. Also, your employer will view you as a value asset. Recognition. Firms around the world recognize TOGAP certification. As a result, you can work in IT in locations around the world. Globally, there are thousands certified TOGAP professionals. There are always a leader that understand the significance of the certification. It doesn't matter where you find employment and TOGAP certification. I will help you realize your ambitions if you want to take on various IT roles around the globe. Proof of your skills. TOGAP certification show you have knowledge comparably to the leading experts in your field. It can help you develop your managerial abilities. With TOGAP training, you understand the language of enterprise architecture. Your knowledge will transform you into an IT leader. A TOGAP course is your first step toward broadening your career horizon. It will assist you in a better managing IT-related matters. Meeting employer demands. With TOGAP training, you can fulfill your employer's needs efficiently. For instance, you'll learn how to create an IT budget. You'll also learn how to spend the budget more effectively. The training will also show you how to manage it more effectively. It will also enable you to see how the parts of business work together. As a result, you learn how to optimize processes. This skill will help to reduce friction and expenses. Top-notching training. The most significant Fortune 500 companies recognize the value of TOGAF certification. It can provide a substantial boost to your career. Many Fortune 500 companies rely on TOGAF for routine operations. They need experts who understand how many comply with TOGAF understand. As you can see, there are plenty great reasons to pursue TOGAF certification. Most importantly, however, it can help you secure a promising future. Example, adapting TOGAF to an agile methodology. Agile development methodologies are widely used for developing and delivering technology-based projects in an iterative manner. In comparison, the TOGAF ADM is more architecture-focused to ensure that the target architecture will support the stakeholders' concerns and that it supports for a long-term business strategy. How could you employ the ADM enterprise architecture in conjunction with an agile development team? Let's take a look for an example. Ayan po yung example natin. Nakikita nyo naman. For most, timing is everything. Much of introductory work preliminary phase through phase D needs, needs to be done in advance of the development team receiving it for the solutioning and implementation. Takeaways. Takeaways. TOGAP replaces the need to organically grow your own enterprise architecture practice. Becoming familiar with the standard replaces the need to reinvent processes, practices, structure, and principles. For an understanding of TOGAP, comprehensive across process content guidelines rules, a structure learning the basic 7 parts of standards. Leverage technique, TOGAP applying your organization if need. Leverage adaptation technique to have coexist with other frameworks. Track your success by assessing accomplishment in your delivered target architecture. Share the benefits of adopting a standardized EA framework with others. Encourage your organization to not reinvent the wheel of code reacting a custom EA practice. Working with simple APIs. What is an API? API are mechanics that enable two software components to communicate with each other using a set of definitions and protocols. For example, the Weather Bureau software system contains daily weather data. The, the, wed, The weather app on your phone talks to system via APIs and show you daily weather updates on your phone. What does API stand for? Ano nga ba yung API? API stands for Application Programming Interface. In the context of APIs, the word application refers to any software with distinct function. Interface can be thought of as contract of service between two applications. This contract defines how the two communicate with each other using requests and responses. Their API documentation contains information on how developers are to structure those requests and responses. How does API stand? How does APIs work? There are four different ways APIs can work depending on when and why they were created. First is SOAP APIs. These APIs use Simple Object Access Protocol, kaya tinawag siyang SOAP, SOAP. Client and server exchange message using XML. This is a less flexible API that was more popular in the past. Second is RPC APIs. This API is called Remote Produce Calls. A procedure call, sorry. The client complete a function on server and the server send the output back on the client. The third is WebSocket API. WebSocket API is another modern web API development that use in JSON or JSON object to pass data. A WebSocket API supports two-way communication between client, app, and the server. The server can send callback message to connected clients, making it more efficient than REST API or REST API. What is REST APIs or REST API? These are the most popular and flexible API found in the web today. The client sends requests to server as a data. The server uses the client input to start internal function and returns output data back to the client. What are the types of what are the different types of API? First is API are classified both according to their architecture and scope of use. We have already explored the main types of API architectures, so let's take a look at the scope of use. Private APIs. These are internal to an enterprise and only used for connecting system and data within the business. Public APIs. These are open to the public, may be used by anyone. There may not be some authorization and costs associated with these types of API. Partners APIs. Composite. These are only accessed by authorized external developers to aid business-to-business partnership. Composite APIs. This combination two or more different APIs to address complex system requirements or behaviors. Examples, weather snippets, login using X, Y, and Z. Yung sa mga account. Weather snippets, One of common API usage examples we come across on daily basis is weather data. Rich weather snippets seems to be commonplace, found on all platforms like Google Search, Apple's weather apps, or even from your smart home device. For examples, you search weather, then it will show on your phone. And then the number 2 is log in using XYZ. Another prominent example of API usage is the log in using Facebook, Twitter, Google, and GitHub. Functionality you see on so many websites. It's incredible convenient. But have you ever wondered how it works? Paano nga ba? Instead of actually logging into users' social media accounts, applications with this functionality leverage these platforms' APIs to automatically the users with each login. For example, here is Facebook login API. The way it works is pretty simple. Every time the application loads, it uses the API to check whether it's already logged in by means whatever social media platforms. If not, when your user clicks the login using XYZ button, a pop-up opens where they ask from confirm they actually want to log in with that social media profile. When the user confirms, the API provides the application with identification information so it knows who's logging in. Ayun, nakapag-login ka rin. Parang yun sa Shopee lang yun. Diba, papalit ka ng account tapos Google or Facebook ba? Yun. Nasa pangatlong topic na tayo. Deploy a computer vision app in a serverless environment. What is serverless? We started with deploying application on our hosted servers and data centers with responsibilities for configuring and managing these servers. With the advent of the cloud and the other remote computing platforms came virtual machines where you could rent and use servers on demand. When containers became mainstream, so did contain orchestration platforms for application infrastructure like Kub, Kubert, Kubernetes. We are now moving toward the era of serverless, where we trade off and customization of our infrastructure for speed in development and deployment. How does serverless work? Serverless platforms allow you to build and run your application and services without thinking about server. This is a new paradigm, and there are two aspects of it. Bring your code for execution. Integrate your application code with other managed back-end services. For code execution, most serverless platforms will have a function as a service, offering that will provide the function for the execute your code on your serverless platform. This way, you can develop, run, manage your application without worrying about the underlying infrastructure. Sorry. You are working on a level of function, not a level of a container, or a server, or a virtual machine. The paradigm change with serverless include no need to manage infrastructure. You are only responsible for your application. The infrastructure is fully managed by the service provider. Event-driven applications. Your architecture depends on events and stateless computing. pay for what you see. When nothing is happening, you pay nothing. When something when something does happen, you have fine-grained billings visibility. Example, architecture overview. Ayan yung flow. This system used a host of house serverless technology. The deep lens is already integrated with house lambda through the green grass interface that runs function code onto the device. The remainder of the architecture uses cloud-native event-driven processing. The image of people uploaded from the deep lens are moved around in S3, which trigger the appropriate action using lambda function. This is a nice, effective sorting image downstream debugging and analytics purpose. Similarly, API gateway handles inbound HTTP requests from the Slack API. Again, delegating the Lambda function for processing. The actual person detection functionality is handled by house recognition, which provides a fully automated machine learning service for facial recognition. An SNS, topic, and SQSQ allow additional application to react and detect people. In this example, a console application uses house poly to speak to person discovered. Build a COVID dashboard with React. With the dashboard menu, wrap on less summary card of the dashboard. There are four cards in displaying cumulative cases. Those vaccination accordingly. Location selected the data. In this card should be updated by making new cell and API every time a new location is selected. Since the card is identical, terms of markup differ the data they displaying in the candidate for component. Here are the examples of the summary data components and the sample. Here are the codes, add summary cards to the dashboard, then fetching summary data. Like previous component, cards component, the component is function returns markup code to be rendered. However, unlike the previous component card, accept the argument name props. The props object contains all props passed down to the component as the key value pairs. In the markup above, the title prop is rendered as a heading and the value prop is rendered as a paragraph. Ayan. Ayan na yung pinaka-output natin. Okay. Sa ano na tayo? Deploy serverless app for image processing. In this guide, you will use a pre-configured environment that runs containers on the cloud, includes everything that you need to complete the guide. other panel display IDE that you will use to create files, edit, code, and run commands. This IDE is based on Visual Studio Code. It includes pre-installed tools and built-in terminal. Project outline. Project outline is a deploy a simple web app, add persistence, convert in this of time processing into an event-driven process. Project outline. In this project, we will evolve our application by the following steps. 1. First is deploy a simple web app as a prototype to prove that our core thumbnail processing logic works. Everything is self-contained in this one web app. Number 2, add persistence so that as images are uploaded, they are saved from safekeeping and so that we can offload the processing to the background process since in the scenario transformation. Logic maybe take a simple I take a while. This also allows for the mechanism aside from our web app to upload the images. For cases where the data being processed could be coming from multiple sources. Number 3, convert this offline processing into an event-driven process so that the image are processed in real time immediately. Building a simple RESTful Java microservice using JAX-RS or JAX-RS and JSON. B. What you learn? You will learn how to build the test and simple RESTful service with Jakarta RESTful Web Service and JSONB, which will expose the JVM's system properties. The RESTful service responds to GET requests made to the HTTP localhost 9080 Liberty Project /system /properties URL. The service responds to GET the request with JSON representation of the system properties, where each property is filled with a JSON object like this. The design of the HTTP API is an essential part of creating web application. The REST API is the go-to architectural style for building an HTTP API. The Jakarta Result Web is offers function to create, read, update, and delete exposed resources. The Jakarta RESTful Web Service API supports the creation of RESTful web services that are performant, scalable, and modifiable. Getting started. Here are our codes. And To open a new command line session, select Terminal, then New Terminal for the menu of Guide IDE. Running the following command to navigate to the Home Project directory. The fastest way to work to this guide is to clone the Git repository and use the projects that are provided inside. The Start directory contains the starting project that you will build upon. The Finish directory contains the finished project that you will build. Try what you build. The Finish directory in the root, this guide contains the finished application. Give it a try before you proceed. To try out the application, first go to the Finish directory to run the following Maven goal. To build the application and deploy it. To open Liberty. Yan. Testing service. You can test this service manually by starting a server and visiting the http /localhost 9080 Liberty Project System properties URL. However, automated tests are much better approach because they trigger a failure if a change introduces a bug. Unit and Jakarta RESTful Web Services Client API provide a simple environment to test the application. You can write the test individually units codes outside the running application server, or they can be read to call application server directly. In this example, you will create tests that does the latter. Create endpoint class. Run the following commands in terminal. Consuming a RESTful Java web service using JSON and JSONB. The REST API has become the go-to architectural style for building an HTTP API. The JAX RS API offers functionality for creating, reading, updating, and deleting exposed resources. The JAX RS API supports the creation of the RESTful web services that come with desirable properties such as performance, scalability, and modifiability. You'll learn how to access the REST service. Serialize the Java object contains the artist album to different approaches. Desirable the return JSON resources. The first approach of using the Java API for JSON binding or JSONB. To directly convert JSON message into Java object. The second approach consists of using the Java API for Java processing or JSONP. The process of JSON. To process. Welcome to the Consuming and RESTful Web Service Guide. Explore how to access simple RESTful web services and consume its resources in Java using JSON and JSONP. In this guide, you will use pre-configured environment that runs containers on the cloud and includes everything that you need to complete the guide. This panel contains the step-by-step guide instruction You can customize this instruction by using the toolbar, the toolbar on the top of this panel. Move between steps by using arrows and buttons and the buttons of this panel. The other panel displays the IDE that you will use to create files, edit the code, and run commands. This IDE is based on Visual Studio Code. It includes pre-installed tools and built-in terminal. Example, ayun yung example natin guys. No? Tapos, and takeaways. Businesses, businesses are increasingly deploying their services on the web in the form of web application, sub-services, message-based services, and more recently REST services. Although the movement towards REST is widely recognized, there is much concern, much concrete information regarding the technical features being used in the field of, such as typical data formats, how HTTPS verbs being used, or typical URI structure. Just to name a few, in this paper we got through the alexa.com to 4,000 most popular sites identify precisely 500 websites claiming to provide the REST Web Service API. We analyzed these 500 APIs for key technical features, degree to compliance with REST architectural principles. For the sorry guys, Yan po. For the best practices, we observe several trends, but at the same time diversity in services, including differences adherence to best practices, with only 0.8% of services strictly complying with all REST principles. Our results can help practitioners evolve guidelines and standard for designing higher quality service and also understand deficiency deficiencies in currently developed services. Researchers may also benefit to the identification of key research areas, contribute, contributing to the deployment of more reliable services. Classify receipt text to cuisine using NLP and logistic regression. Classify receipt text to cuisine using NLP and logistic regression. How to do text classification? Text classification is nothing but the process in which the text assigned to particular tag or category depending upon its content. This classification can be used in the real problem, sentimental analysis, spam detection, analyzing the customer review, and many more. Text classifications classifiers can be used in organizing, structuring, categorizing for much as any type of text. The text from document, medicals, studies, and files also all over the web. For this, we are going to use naive Bayes classifier, which is considered to be good for the text classification. And these are examples. Ayan yung code natin. Then, ito yung pinaka-output natin. Okay. Takeaways. While solving NLP problems, it's also good to start with the trivial cognitive services when we need to be on the bounds of the trivial cognitive service. When you want to search more machine learning methods, you will find this repository very useful. To get started, navigate to the setup guide, which lists instructions on how set up your environment and the dependencies. And ayan, yung mga links na ginamit natin, nagamit natin dito sa paggawa ng ating PowerPoint. Ayan, good morning sir. My name is Bert Santos and ito po yung aking presentation or final assessment. Thank you po.